Good afternoon. My name is Kim Knoppe, and I'm the host of the Gnocchis cooking show. And this December is our third annual cooking show that's being aired. And the theme of tonight's show is cost savings in home preparation. And who I have helping tonight is Marion and her sister Judy. Now they're sisters, but as you notice, one has blonde hair and the other one is a brunette. Oh, and before I continue, I have to tell you, and I know I get off on tangent, but I hired Geico Insurance to insure me against politically incorrect statements and against any sexual harassment lawsuits and violations of federal labor laws. And so I have this live feed to them, and so if I cross the line, they notify me here to keep me out of trouble. So, and I'll get back to Geico in a minute. But Judy's father was from northern Italy, where they bred with the northern Germans and the Nordic people, and so you have Italians from the north that will actually have blonde hair and blue eyes. And Marion's father was, I believe, from Sicily, and where they tend to be shorter and darker and have wait a minute. Geico tells me that's not true. Oh, the mothers were different. No? What? Only their hairdresser knows for sure. Geico said the politically correct thing to say is only their hairdressers know for sure. Now, if you remember a couple of years ago, Marion actually started out with Knoppe's Gnocchis as a international intern, only speaking mostly Italian, and she came in to learn how to cook Italian American style, and Mary and I worked out a deal where if I was allowed to give her massages and hugs during work time hours and vice versa, that Knoppe's Gnocchis wouldn't have a glass ceiling. So I'm proud to report that she started out as an intern, then was promoted to trainee, full-time kitchen helper. Wait a minute, Geico says I can't say that stuff. But anyway, she was recently promoted to a sous chef. And that was a promise that I made her 3.5 years ago. What she didn't know is I was spelling sous chef S-I-O-U-X and not S-O-U, because Marion's going to be responsible for salt preservation of wild game that can be used in future dishes like the Indians used to do. So starting off with cost savings, we decided this year to employ child labor in our cooking process, and you will meet maybe in a separate video Lillian, who is age 4, and she's actually done the lion's share of the work here. And so it works for Nike, it works for China, and it's free. And the real problem with today's entitlement of these young kids is that nobody wants to learn how. Wait a minute. Geico says we can't we can't employ anybody younger than 14, but we're not paying her, so you can't technically say that we're employing her. So the other cost savings thing is to have relatives come and help for free. Now, that's an old German Italian tradition, and we just weren't able to cost effectively produce our product because we kept comparing the cost of making it homemade to the canned Chef Boyardee. And so our goal was to keep the cost down, and so that's why we brought in Lillian at age 4 and Judy, a relative that we recruited all the way from the Carolinas or Georgia rather, to help us out. Now, getting back to Geico, when I was working with Geico to set this up, I got them to insure Knoppe Gnocchis for $5 a year. And that's why I'm able to retire and live comfortably, because I've always been a pretty good negotiator. The only hiccup I had was dealing with that little green lizard that they have running all over my set. And those are geckos, and you have to ask yourself, well, what does a gecko have to do with Geico? Well, back in the early days, people kept mispronouncing Geico and calling it gecko. And so the actual Martin ad agency came up with the idea of having a gecko be the mascot of Geico. And so, but there's some fallacies there because they have this little smart aleck lizard blinking all the time, and geckos don't blink. They have to actually lick their eyes with their long tongues, and that's how they lubricate their eyeballs. But I didn't get along with this little guy, and one day he walked a little bit too close to my boiling pot, and well, that's why you're not seeing this lizard in the commercials anymore. And but there's no need to worry. The batch of pasta filling that we're making today includes just veal, beef, and pork, and doesn't contain any little green lizards. That batch was consumed a while back by my outlaws. So anyway, and then the other thing is this roller thinner reducer. You can go out at these top commercial places and pay an arm and a leg for these. But I got this at the dollar store on a 50% off sale, and so it cost me 50 cents. And we have a spaghetti maker that it took me a while to shop, but got that, I think maybe 60 cents. So you just can't go out there and pay top dollar for this stuff. It just never works. And the thing about spaghetti is that before spaghetti machines, back in the old days, they would roll this flour out, this dough out so thin, and then they would cut it by hand in these long little bitty strips, and that's how they made spaghetti. And now they have a machine that does that, and they actually have two kinds of machines. They fast and faster, and one sort of forces the dough through, and the other one gets through in a different way. But I'm sure many of you are wondering why spaghetti has different colors, and particularly that light green color. And these these vegetarians and these health nuts will try to have you believe that the green spaghetti is actually better for you than this other spaghetti. And you know, it's all it is a few specks of spinach pureed into the mix to give it that green look. So it doesn't really matter much, you know. But if you have a lot of relatives that are health conscious and you want to impress them, well then, you know, throw a little spinach into the batch. Now, the first Christmas show we had, we cooked with gin and tonic, and that was a hit. And last year we talked about Moscato, and I wouldn't necessarily serve what I'm drinking today with the meal. It's a Chardonnay. And another cost savings thing is I always buy this 2 cases at a time, and I negotiate all year round for it. So believe it or not, I'm drinking Chardonnay that's less than $4 a bottle. Now I never refrigerate it because it takes too much room, and so what I do is I put an ice cube or 2 into the glass, and within a minute it chills up to the ideal temperature, and so you know, no worries about that. So as you can see today, everybody is busy making ravioli with the meat stuffing, and you probably don't remember back 3 years ago, but these ladies are doing this at twice the speed I could do it, because they both started out doing this when there weren't child labor laws, and they were Lillian's age, helping their mother and their grandmother doing this. So if you want to make homemade Italian dishes cheaper and faster, you know, you date an Italian woman that knows how to do it, and make sure she's got plenty of relatives that have been schooled since age 4 that will drive halfway across the country to help your cooking show. Now, the big surprise this year is that immediately following this airing, we will publish some bloopers and bleepers from previous episodes that you really won't want to miss. And Geico's telling me it's inappropriate. I can't do it, but you know, it's already recorded. It's already a blooper. You know, Marianne almost quit over it a couple times, but we're going to air it anyway. And so thanks for joining us today, and welcome again to Knoppe Gnocchis cooking show. Thank you.